We want to remind you of the events of the first part, in which we saw the poor Sung who wanted to have money, and suddenly one day he got it. A person offered him to participate in a game called the Squid Game and win a lot of money from it. Of course, Sung agreed and was player number 456. He discovered that many people participated in the game, all of whom were poor and in debt. The loss in this game was about death, and the game after the other. Sung knew that he had to persevere and reach the end. After he won, he discovered that the old man number one who was with him in the game is one of the businessmen who designed this game originally and is considered the mastermind of everything and who died after the game due to his brain tumor. So Sung decided to take revenge on all of them for what they saw in this game, and the events of the second part begin. With Sung, who died, his hair Amar was leaving the airport to cancel his daughter's trip, and then he received a call from an unknown person asking him why he left the plane and didn't travel to his daughter in America. So they told Sung that he wouldn't travel because he would look for them, and here he took revenge on them. Then Sung went to the supermarket, went to the bathroom, and wrote that he had buried his money behind his ear, something under his skin. So he grabbed the scalpel and hurt himself and pulled it out. Bella thinks that it is a small piece of metal, as if it were a GPS. At this time, we see John, the policeman, waking up from the coma, and we know that he is still alive. This is after he participated in the Squid Game, undercover as an employee in the game, in order to search for his brother. The elder brother collected all the evidence with pictures about the violations that happened in the game, but he discovered that the supervisor was his older brother who decided to kill him with his gun so that he would not reveal the secrets of the game to the public. 2 years later, we see the policeman John, who has become a traffic policeman, stopping a young man and his girlfriend because he was not wearing a helmet and was riding. The motorcycle is stopped and he gives him a ticket, and his girlfriend tries to make John retract the ticket by reversing him. So her boyfriend revokes it and takes the ticket from John and walks away, leaving his girlfriend alone in the street as punishment for reversing John. After that, John is sitting with his boss at work, and he is angry and quarrels with him because he left his place in the investigation and crimes department and decided to become a traffic police officer. Also that no one would believe him about the deadly game he saw, and in which he discovered that the participants die if they lose. At that moment, he asks Juno if he remembers who shot him with the bullets, with Beto and him saying that he did not see those who were shot at that time. At night, Sung dreams that the Squid Game supervisor has arrived at his place with 2 heads of his colleague who were with him in the game. He wakes up terrified, and we find that his hair has turned black again. At that moment, the bell rings, so he is the first in the cameras. The surveillance that he put up in Bella and Suk, who owed him a large sum of money, and after he paid it from the prize he won, he kept running to find him the sales who stopped at the metro station to lure people to participate in the game, and he and Suk know that they have been looking for the sales for 2 years, and they have no money, but Sung insists that they continue searching for him because the game is still running. And he gives Woo Suk extra money so that he and his men can continue searching. Then Woo Suk walks and gets into his car, and at that time his men are with him. He knows that they will stop searching, so he tells one of his men that Sung looks crazy because it has been 2 years since they have been searching. They are looking for someone who doesn't exist, but Woo Suk believes Sung because many people were indebted to him and suddenly disappeared in a strange way. Not only did he pay off all his debts, he also gives them large sums of money in exchange for finding the person they are looking for. If they find him, they will take 1 billion. It is the Korean currency, so his men are very handsome and patient. And the next day we see that Yuk has gathered all his men to tell them the information about the sales they are looking for, and they bought it. Then at the subway stations, they ask people if they have met anyone and offer them to join the game. And they open up all the people who are wearing suits. They are carrying a black bag, while Juno is searching all the islands surrounding the sea because the location of the game has changed and he wants to know where it is now, but unfortunately, he can't get anywhere. Days pass and things remain the same and no one gets anything new. One night, while Woo Suk is sitting in the subway station, he is frustrated. He and one of his men suddenly find the seal they were looking for, and they see that he is actually playing with one of the people like Sung Hyun told them in my house, and Suk Hyun quickly tells them that they found the seal he wants in Sung Hyun's house, and he pulls out his gun and moves quickly. He asks Woo Suk to keep watch, and then the salesman passes by all the poor and homeless people and offers them to choose between bread and a card. And most of them choose the card, but they don't win. Suddenly, he stands in front of them all and throws all the bread on the ground, and he kicks it with his foot, and they realize that they have lost the food from their hands. They chose wrong, and everyone was very surprised by his behavior, and they filmed him with Sook on his mobile phone, and he followed him and called a taxi so that he wouldn't get lost from them. And when they got out behind him, he saw them, and they both beat them violently, and in the meantime, the traffic police stopped Song because he was speeding, and he got the ticket, and he was silent and walked, and at that moment, Junho's colleague told him that this person is a very strange creature, and when Juno sees the violation in Min Bet's name, he is shocked when he sees Sung's name. Then Juno searches for Sung in the civil registry and is able to confirm from his picture that he is Sung who was involved in Squid Game after a while. Sung Hyung arrives at Woo-seok's place, but he doesn't find him, and there is blood all over the place. So he prefers to kidnap the one he is looking for. After that, we see the salesman and Woo-seok's kidnapper and the man who was with him, tied up in chairs and silenced. And they read the game and know who will lose. He will put the gun to his head, and his luck will come the bullet is in him, and he dies or he gets a new life. And of course, they are both terrified, and he trembles and collapses completely from fear. And then Woo-seok loses, and they kill the sales. And at the same time, Juno reaches the place where Woo-seok works and writes that he is looking for the sales of the Squid Game and uses the place. And as soon as he leaves, he returns to complete. They search the place, and Bella finds Sung's file in the drawer. At the same moment, Sung returns to the place where he lives, and they reconcile. He is there and waiting for her. They ask why he didn't get on the plane and travel after he won the game. So Sung tells him that he wanted to meet him first to thank him for letting him participate in the game that made him a rich person, and he asks him to let him meet those responsible for the game because he wants to thank them himself. So he sells the sales that one day he discovered that his father was in the game and had to kill him with a bullet in his head because he lost in the game, and from at that moment, he discovered that this job was very suitable for him, and he asked Song Hyun if he saw himself as special because he won the game. Song Hyun laughed at him and said that he would never understand how he felt and how he won as long as he did not participate in the game. At that moment, the sales decided to play a game together. They put one bullet in the gun and take turns to see who will be unlucky and not get hit by a bullet. During the game, the salesman tells Sung that if he wants to accept being in charge of the game, he will find the key in his pocket and he can kill him without playing and wasting time. But he must first admit that, dirty like everyone else. And at that time, Sung ignores his words and continues the game and tells the sales that he is acting like a dog that falls for his master. And in the end, he is just a dog and has no value. And at that time, it is the sales' turn, and it is luck that the bullet hits him and he dies. And at that moment, John is in his car after he knew where Sung-ho hears the sound of gunfire. So he quickly goes down and looks for Sung-ho in all the rooms in the building. He finds Ho-seok tied up and placed on the bed, and he is naked. He knows that his name is Kim, so he asks Sung-ho about him and learns from him that he is in room number 410 in Beirut. At that moment, he sees the body of the salesman. He arrests him. He is accused of being suspected of murder, but at the same time, Kim comes and hits Juno on the head and tells Sung that Kim is Ho-seok's assistant, and they know that Ho-seok was killed by the SEALs. And at that time, Sung has a special card for the Squid Game. He finds the sales pocket and writes an address on it. Then Juno wakes up from the blow, and Sung-ho is sitting with him. He tries to know from him how they knew. He keeps saying that there was a fight in the game's residence, and the masked men entered at that time to stop the fight in Sung-ho's house. He understands that he is one of the game's employees, so Junho explains to him. He was hiding among them to find his brother, but Sung-ho did not believe him. So Juno told him that at that time he asked him if he really knew a person named On, because he was his brother. So Sung-ho said that one of the masked men actually asked him about On, and Juno asked Sung-ho who was the murdered person. So they told him that this was the salesman who the players draw for the game is the one who killed himself, because he lost in the game he was playing with them. And they also know that he is looking for those responsible for the game to take revenge on them and stop them. So he showed him Key, and John Honu saw the person responsible for the game when he was one of the employees, and they called him the leader, but he was wearing it all the time. Black Mask and Sung-ho decided to look for him alone and told Junho that old man number 1 told him that this game was made for customers, and if he reached the customers, then the game would stop and end, and then Junho would tell him that he wanted to find them exactly like him, because he would not be able to forget his brother, just as he certainly did not forget the people who he died in the game, but he was able to help him. Then, Sung Kim and Jun Wool took the room where he put the money he earned from the game, and he gave them the weapons they had collected over the course of 2 years so that they would be ready for the confrontation. He also gave them the secret place where they had been training to use these weapons, and he asked Junho. He resigns from his job, and Song goes to a broker who helps people immigrate to ask him to bring his father, Si Beck, from North Korea to South Korea. They sell him if he is released, but she is sick due to the spread of tuberculosis in the prison and the matter will take time. So he tells Sung that he will give him any money he wants. And then I give him a paper with the address of his mother's fish shop, and they know that if he doesn't know how to reach it, he will find Seb's brother there. Then he goes to the same broker, a young girl named Noelle, and we know that she is looking for her 1-year-old daughter because she is in North Korea, so the broker tells her that it is impossible. A 1-year-old girl endures all this in North Korea, and also without her father and mother. He thinks that she ran away and came here after she shot her boss at work, meaning she is considered a criminal. He apologizes to Noel for hurting her with his words, and he knows that the subject of a mother forgetting her daughter is a difficult thing. But she has to try, especially since her daughter, of course, she died. And at night we see Neo sitting in her car holding a picture of herself with her daughter and husband and crying. And suddenly an unknown person knocks on the car window and gives Neo the Squid Game card. So I was surprised at the time. And the next morning John is on his way to the cemetery to see his wife's grave. His brother who died, and he puts flowers for her like his brother always did. And when he returns home, he is sitting with his mother, and she tells him sadly that she feels that his brother no longer wants to live with them, and she is afraid that he left because he thinks that she prefers Juno over him, and that Juno is her son, while he is her son, her husband, and Bachik, that he is sad since the hour of his wife's death, because when she got sick he couldn't help her, so he donated his kidney to Juno when he was sick, so Juno tells her that it is clear that he hates him because he could have sold his kidney in exchange for securing treatment for his wife, and Juno is tired at that time for his mother because she always makes him feel guilty, and at that time we see Noel is submitting her resignation, and we learn that she was working with a children's masquerade group at the amusement park. While she is leaving the amusement park, they see an ambulance, and they put in it a sick little girl named Nayeon, and her father is at that moment collapsing from his fear for her, and Noel repeats that. She goes to the hospital and hears the doctor telling Abu Neon that she has leukemia, and unfortunately the insurance won't cover the cost of her treatment. Neon smiles and enters Nayeon's room. She holds her hand and looks at her lovingly and leaves her hat. Then she calls the number on the Squid Game card and tells the person who answered that she wants to participate in. The game gives her name and date of birth. So she sells it to the address she will go to and to wait for the one who will transfer her to the game. At the same time, we see Sung bringing a doctor to remove one of his lessons and replace it with a lesson that has a tracker in it, and Kim calculates it and asks him to remain silent and not speak. And Sung sees and the men who brought them to help them in the plan, and they know that they were in the special forces of the Korean army. And Sung gets to know their leader, Kim. And Taha is released, and he and his team go to her, and Sung goes to the address above the game card that was with the sales. He takes advantage of the fact that everyone is dressed up. So he tells Juno that today is Halloween. Sung Hyun and Kamal enter the place where the party is taking place, and Juno waits for them in the car and watches through the tracking device that Sung Hyun put in DSO. Suddenly, Juno sees at that same moment people wearing red and white masks, and he knows that they are from the Squid Game. So your house is with Yim to warn him and Sung Hyun. And when he tries to enter the party, the guards stop him. So he disperses one of them with his gun and enters, and at the party, one of the game employees attacks him and electrocutes him, and Sung Hyun walks after him. And at that time, a white car is waiting for him. So Beer falls into it, and he walks with them. So they see Juno asking Kimmel, the leader, and his team to track the white car after he gave them its tiger. In the car, Sung finds teddy bear headphones and talks to the leader of the game through them. They know that he had to travel, his daughter, but then Sung responds to him firmly and asks him to stop the game. So they tell the leader that all those who participated in the game participated willingly. And then Sung objects to his words and tells him that he is exploiting people's need for money and playing with their feelings in order for them to participate in the game. And he pulls out his gun and tries to kill the driver who drives the car. So they tell the official that what he is thinking about will not happen. Meanwhile, we discover that there is a sniper who is firing at the car of K and his team to prevent them from following the car that Sung is in. At that moment, Sung decides to participate in the game again. When the leader is surprised, he provokes Sung and tells him that he is definitely afraid of losing in front of him like the old man. Number 1 sleeps, and the leader looks at him and tells him that since he is the one who chose to participate in the game, then he fulfills his request. At that moment, a narcotic gas is sprayed in the car, and we discover that the leader of the game is sitting in front next to the driver, wearing a black mask and looking at Sung Young number 456. To play again, At the same time, we see Newell wearing the clothes for the Squid Game. The next day, Sung wakes up from his sleep, and Bella finds himself in the Squid Game building, sleeping on his bed, wearing the player's uniform, and he sees around the participating players waking up from their sleep like him. At the same time, employees enter. The game is about those wearing red suits and masks, and they know that they will participate in 6 different games over the course of 6 days, and whoever is able to win the 6 games will get a large cash prize. But then the players ask him why he kidnapped them in this way, and why they are wearing masks and hiding their faces. So one of the employees tells them that all of this is because in order for the game to remain safe, and the game policy stipulates that employees do not reveal their identity no matter what happens. But at that time, number 333 wants his money to follow the cryptocurrency market and not lose his money. At your house, one of the employees tells everyone that the participant number 333's name is Myung. He is 30 years old and runs a YouTube channel where he convinces subscribers to invest in digital currencies and causes them to lose 15 million. At that time, his channel was closed and he disappeared because he is wanted on charges of fraud and violating communications and financial investment laws. He has debts of $1.5 billion. The employee then talks about player number 196, whose name is Mina Kong, has 45 million yen in debt. And the employee keeps talking about all the players participating in the game, and everyone believes that one of them is 10 billion in debt. And then the employee is surprised that the prize will be 45 billion won. And they also know that after each game there will be a vote on whether they want to continue the games or not. No, I was surprised by Seong, because this means that they can walk away at any time and take the 1,000 money they collected from the games, and the players start signing their consent to start the game and participate in it. And then the player number 230, whose name is Thanos, fights with Myung because he was one of the investors in the cryptocurrency he was working in, and he was considered a scammer, and they lost all his money. We know that Thanos is a famous rapper. During the filming, his fans from the players want to take pictures with him, but they prevent one of the employees because this is against the rules of the game. Suddenly, they are surprised by his friends named Youngbai. He knows that he is participating in the game, and at that moment, Youngbai is shocked that Sungju is alive because he thought that he died because he has been missing for 3 years. He also heard that his mother died, and Youngbai tells Sungju that he divorced his wife and that his son is now living with her. So he tells Sungju anxiously that he must stay by his side and close to him and not move away. A moment about him, FBI, Jung was surprised by his method, and at the same time, Juno was following Sungho's location, and we saw him on the ship with some people, and they were searching for the place that appeared on the map until they reached the island in the sea, and they used the drone's camera to be able to pinpoint Sung's location accurately, and suddenly Camel arrives. The fisherman is standing on the beach and picks up the tracking device that was in Sung's lesson, thrown in the middle of the bait that the fisherman is using. At that moment, he calls Kim Junho and tells him what happened. After that, we see the players on the field to start their first game, which is called the red signal. The green light comes on, and Sungho wonders how Kim and Junho were late to reach him. He sees the fake lesson he put up and writes that the tracking device he was on was removed in the house. At that moment, there is a big shock, and he stands up and talks to all the players and tells them that this is not just a game because if they lose, they will die because of this game. It is about a bride who watches their movements at the red light, and if any of them moves, they will die. Everyone is shocked by his words and thinks he is crazy and suspects that he is doing all this to win the game alone and take the money. At the same time, the game begins and the bride begins counting down before turning. And you see who is moving. So Sunghyun decides to help the players since he has tried this game and knows it well. At that moment, Younghyun asks Sunghyun to calm down because he is starting to scare him. At that same moment, a bee lands on the neck of the player, Mina number 196. Out of fear, she moves, and at that moment she is shot in the head and dies. He says, Sung shouts to everyone not to move and hide. They start talking, but from the fear and panic that happened, a large group of players move and die one after the other. At that moment, we learn that Null is one of the game's employees, and she is responsible for killing whoever loses. Nayeon's father is among the players. At that moment, we see the leader is watching the game on TV, and everyone starts to believe what Sunghyun says, and some of them don't reach the finish line. When Sunghyun sees one of the players with his legs tied, and he is still alive, he decides to go back to play to help him, and the player Hyun-soo cleans up after him. Number 120, and he reaches the finish line, and Bing Hawa. But Null kills the player they save because he failed and did not win with his effort. So Sung Ho and Hyun Cho are destroyed. After the game, the employees enter the players, so they are very afraid of them. And at that moment, one of the employees is with Ahum because they won in the first game. But at that time, all the players are trying. They ask the employees for forgiveness because they are afraid that they will kill them. So they tell the employee that they will not harm anyone in your house, Sung. And everyone tells that item number 3 in the game says that if everyone votes to end the game ends. And they all leave, but unfortunately, when the players see the money that was collected from the first game after 91 deaths, a greedy person decides to play the second game as well. And then the employees decide to vote and leave the players to Horia to choose. So Sung stays and votes to end the game. And after a while, Bella notices that the number of those who agree to continue the game increases. So Batak is with them and asks them to come back to their senses, because if they finish this game, and they will all die. And then the players get angry with him because he keeps telling them what to do and what not to do. So he thinks that if it weren't for Sung, they would have died a long time ago. So Sung says angrily and devastated that he played this game 3 years ago, and that's why he knows what will happen in the first game, and everything that was with him dead. It is preferable that Sung is the one who won, but this makes them more greedy for the money, and he tells them not to continue the game. At the same time, he threatens one of Sung's employees to disrupt the voting process. When there is a tie, player number Z is the one who decides, and he chooses at that time that they continue the game, and thus it ends. The players vote to complete the game, and then we discover that player ZZ is the leader and looks at Shaun with defiance. The next day, at lunchtime, the players want to know who Shaun is and what the second game is. They understand that the second game is called Dalgona, which consists of 4 shapes made of sweets. Sugar, and the easiest shape is the triangle, and the hardest is the umbrella, and then the leader sits with Sion, and the one disguised as player number 001, and asks Sion why he returned to the game again after he took 45 million, and they sold that this money is not his because it belongs to every person who was in the game and died, and at that time Thanos tries to provoke Myong and asks from him. He wins to get back his money that he lost because of him, and at that time he grabs the food and throws it in his face. So he strangles Myung with him, and they beat him, but Thanos is able to get up and beat Myung violently. So at that moment, he hits him with a ZZ1, but Thanos mocks him and tries to hit him too. So he grabs him with a ZZ1, and they beat him violently. It's so intense that Thanos tries to leave him. And then he forces all the players to stand together because Thanos stopped him. At night, while everyone is asleep, he goes to each other and talks to Sion, and they say that his wife is very sick and has cirrhosis. He has a severe liver disease and needs a liver transplant. He suffered a lot in order to find a donor and had to borrow money from a merchant he works with. At the time, people thought that he was taking bribes from him, and he was fired from his job at that time. That's why this game is his only hope to be able to save his wife, even if the money he earns is stained with blood. Meanwhile, in the surgery room, we discover that the employees are dissecting the bodies of dead players in order to take their organs and sell them. It is believed that most of the body's organs are not suitable for sale because they have been dead for a long time. Then the supervisor comes, and they find out that the body was killed in the wrong way. There is a person who shot them twice to make sure they were dead. The supervisor is worried about who did this, and then they inform him that she is employee number 01, and we know that she is Newell, and then Newell is standing in front of the supervisor, and he knows that he knew that she shot twice at the players who lost to make sure they were dead. And he tells her that he is the one who, the moment he saw her for the first time, he was looking at her, and for that reason he will give her a second chance, and the leader will not know what happened. So Annual tells him that when he hired her here, he told her that her mission was to save those who feel hopeless from their suffering. But now the deal has changed, and the matter did not come out like that. So the supervisor got angry with her and said to her, "They use these organs to save other people." So Nico smiles and walks away. Then we see John Ho going to the police station and asking the chief to help him. But his chief is angry with him because he submitted his resignation without telling him, but he still tries to help him. Then John Ho goes with his chief to the police station chief too. Juno asks him to search for the place where the Squid Game is happening, but the police officer gets angry with him, and they know that there is no case without evidence. And when he has evidence, then he will believe him and let them go, and he is very angry. Then we see Yeekum sitting with Park, the captain who he helps him and Juno in searching for the island, and he sits and tells him about Sung and the game. And at that time, the player 222, whose name is Juno, we discover that she knows Myung, who is surprised because he did not notice her or see her. And we also learn that June is pregnant with Myung's child. And he agreed with him that she would exhaust the fetus, but she refused and decided to keep it with him. and you know that she is happy with him because Sans beat him, and then the second game starts. And Sung writes that it is a new game, and they are required to divide into teams of 5 people, and the players fight at that time with Sung, because they think he lied to them when he told them that the second game is the sugar candy game, so it is better that they are missing one person, but at home. They were surprised when Johanna asked them to let her join their team because she was pregnant and needed help. At the same time, the player Young Sik was suffering because no one wanted him to join their team, and this was because his old mother was with him. So his mother asked him to leave her. He tries to join any team, but he refuses to leave her alone. In the end, they find a missing team and clean it up. After that, the game begins after the teams are complete, and the employees know how the game will be played. He tells them that there are 5 mini-games. Each one of the team will play one of them and must win in order to make his team win. But their legs will be tied together, and fear begins to appear on everyone. They see some teams failing and being shot dead. The employees come to take the dead in coffins. At that moment, when Newell finds one of them still alive, she shoots him in the head. After that, it's the turn of the rest of the teams, and Young Sik is able to invent a clever way to walk, which is walking in reverse to make their speed faster and not waste time. And Young Sik is able to succeed in her game. Even though everyone doubted that she would fail because she is old, and their team is able to win. And the last team is Sung Sik's team and his game, and after the second, they succeed in it. But ZZ1 fails in his game twice, and between them, he keeps hitting himself. So Sung tries to calm him down and makes him hungry until he succeeds in it, and the whole team is able to win, but they are shocked that the team that was before them lost and died, and after that we see 2 of the employees being attacked. On Null in her room, and they are angry with her, because she kills the bodies in a wrong way and makes their organs unfit for sale, and she tries to hit them and run away from them, but they catch her, and he stabs her in the face with a knife and threatens her that if she makes a mistake, they will cut off her finger. And then the employees inform the players that the amount they collected from the 2 games has become 20 billion, and I whitewashed all the players from the number, because it was small, even though 110 players died in the second game. So the employees understood that they could vote again on continuing the game or stopping it. And ZZ started voting, and this time he chose to stop the game, but Young Sik agreed that they complete the game, which shocks his mother. Unluckily, there are many people who want to complete the game, despite the death of many people in front of their eyes. He gets tired of them and asks how they still want to complete the game. The voting ends, and the vote that wants to continue wins. At that moment, Sung Ho feels hopeless. After that, Young Siki tries to make peace. His mother knows that he had to choose to complete the game because his debts are very large and he has to pay them off. So he leaves it because one of them might die in the third game. At that time, Yoongbei tries to reconcile with Sung Hyun and the rest of his team so that he chooses to complete the game. They know that he needs to play the third game so that when the game stops, he will have money. A lot of them pay off his debts, and Sung Hyun is on him. And they know that in the third game they might have to kill each other. And when it's time to sleep, Sung Hyun orders his team to sleep because he's afraid that when it's time to sleep, the players will kill each other like what happened before. And at that time, 011 is surprised by what he's doing. Sung Sik and they say that they were too afraid of Gone. So Sung Sik thinks that he did not see what he saw to speak and knows that they are going to stay on guard until the next day. When everyone goes to sleep, Young Sik's mother tries to convince the employees to let her and Junie go to the bathroom, and she tries to beg him to agree. And indeed, she succeeds. And after a while, Young Sik's mother senses that Junhee was late in the bathroom. So she enters and finds her crying and afraid that she is feeling pain or that something has happened to the fetus. So Junhee tells her that she is crying because she is afraid. The next day, we see Junho gathering 2 teams. One team will move with Captain Park, and the other team will move with Captain Ko tells Juno to Park that they must find the island before the 6 days are up, because then the game will be over. At that time, the players will know that the third game will start in a few moments, and they write that it is a platform. They will hear numbers from her, and their mission is to form a group of people matching the number and enter the rooms and close the door within 30 seconds. At that moment, all the players will think about how they will remove groups matching the number that will be said. At that moment, the platform will start to rotate and suddenly stop, and they will hear the number 10, and they have 30 seconds in which to form a team of 10 people and enter to the room, and they close the door, and at that time, everyone breathes, and they fight together, and between him and Sung at that time, and he sees the players who lost, and they're dying from the bullets of the employees, and time after time the game becomes more difficult, and they start pulling each other to the rooms to collect the number, and one time the number 3 comes, and we see 2 of them pulling Young sick from his mother, and she stays alone until Sung sick takes her with him, he and 0Z. And then ZZ asks Young Sik's mother where her son is, so she beats him up because she feels that he means that her son left her alone, and she knows that her son has a good heart, and when everyone leaves the rooms, Young Suk is in a bad mood because he left his mother alone and did not bring her back again, and at that moment his mother tries to calm him down, and during the next round, Mi Young enters the room from the rooms instead of Young Mi playing, and she dies at that moment because he lost his temper and made Young's mother cry one day, along with everyone with her. Because Young Mi was a good girl who loved him. In the next round, we see Young Bai with ZZ in the same room because the number that came to them was 2, and because there was an extra person in the room, they kill 0Z. 1 violently, and this makes Young Bai surprised by his behavior. And after the game ends, the staff informs the players that they will take their votes again in case they want to stop the game before they start the 4th game, and the players start voting, and Sung Bai is a little happy because the number of players who want to stop the game is a little bit, but Young Bae is worried about ZZ1 and feels that he will choose to continue the game. But he chooses that the game stops, and then the result is a tie. So the employee tells them that in this case the vote will be repeated, but they will leave them for some time to think a little about their decision. And then we see Thanos Wu trying to convince the player Manson and change his vote. He votes to continue the game, but at that moment, Myung Woo intervenes and asks Thanos to stay away from Manso. So Thanos provokes Myung Woo with his jaw and talks about their relationship with each other. And a big fight occurs between them, and Thanos hits Myung Woo violently. But at the same moment, Myung Woo has a fork and Thanos bites it on his chin and neck. And during that, John Ho and Commander Kim see a door on the ground on an island. When they go to the door and try to open it, there is a bomb that works. They then return to the ship again. John Ho and Kim understand that those responsible for the game know their movements and set traps for them everywhere, and they decide not to use mobile phones and use wireless is better, and in the meantime Myung is collapsing and afraid of what he did to Thanos because he killed him, and he enters the bathroom and locks the door on him, and we see at that time all the players fighting with each other and hitting each other, and some of them reach the point of killing and anyone they see in front of them. At that time the employees stand still at the bathroom door, not moving, leaving the players to kill each other. After that, we see the players who refuse to continue the game and the players who are determined to continue the game, and they are in a challenge and conflict with each other. After a while, each team of them sits alone, and each one of them thinks of a plan for his team. He wins the vote, and then Sung suggests that they fight the employees and take their weapons. ZZ offers one, because he saw that the employees are more numerous, and they will also have more weapons. So they tell Sung that this is their last chance to stop the game, and it ends. At bedtime, we see a group of the players are going down under the beds to hide from the team that agreed to continue the game. At that moment, we see all the players in a violent fight with each other, killing each other without thinking or hesitation. At that time, we see Sung hiding under his bed, not moving and waiting for the employees to appear because a large number of players have died. It's not in their interest because there won't be any players to complete the game. After a while, the employees enter and scare everyone with their weapons. Meanwhile, Sung Ho pretends to be dead in order to attack the employees. He and Young Bae do the same thing and are able to take weapons from the employees and use them to attack them. This drives the supervisor crazy, and he asks the employees. They withdraw and close the doors, but Sung and those with him catch some of them. Sung prevents one of those with him from killing the team that was determined to complete the game, even though they killed a large group of those who refused to complete the game. Sung and those with him destroy all the cameras and stand talking to all the players, and he says, Sung-young tells them that they must attack the officials who are following them through the cameras, and Young-bang talks to him and also tells everyone that he is afraid like them. But this is their only chance to escape, so he encourages the players one by one to join Sung-young. And then Sung-young makes the employees who are catching them take off their masks and show their identities, and he takes one of them to guide them to the place where the game officials are, but suddenly the rest of the armed employees attack them and shoot them. The guide tries to get them to allow the players to approach the administration area, but Sung and those with him are able to escape from them. At that moment, the employee with Sung takes him to the path to the administration area, and they know that he must wear his mask. In order to bypass the security system, Suddenly, a bullet hits the employee's head. So, Sung Hyun and those with him hide, and they also shoot at the employees. He takes the mask from the employee who was killed, and he and Jung Hyun run away to look for him. They go to the administration area themselves and open one door after the other, but they don't find anything. So Sung Hyun puts the mask on in front of the camera, and suddenly the door leading to the administration area opens. At the same time, the supervisor sees them from the surveillance cameras, so he sends employees to catch them. As soon as they see the employees, Sung Hyun and Young Bai attack them with their weapons. But Sung Ho is very brave and is able to take the weapons that were with the dead employees. Meanwhile, we see Zero Z looking at the camera and then arriving at Sung Ho and Young Bai's location. At that moment, he finds Sung Ho giving him ammunition to have as a backup. Meanwhile, Di-Ho is collecting ammunition from his pockets. The employees who died, but he felt that the sound of gunfire increased more. So he was very scared and he read and withdrew and threw the wireless on the ground and did not respond to the rest of his colleagues. At the same time, as soon as he was one button away from Sung, he killed the two players with him and spoke to Sung from the wireless. The one with him tells him that this is it, it's all over, and he hears the sound of gunfire while he kills the player who appears in front of him. At that time, Sung Hyun doesn't understand what's happening and thinks that the employees killed Zero and Z1. The one with him, at that time, on the ship, the owner of the drone sees Park playing in it and he doubts him at that time, and this makes Park stab him and throw him into the sea, and at the same time, he comes and tells Park that he heard a strange sound. So Park approaches him and tells him that he heard the same sound, and he looks at its source and tells him that it was the sound of the waves, and at that time we see a large number of the players are injured, and the situation gets so bad that one of them decides to kill himself and commit suicide. At that moment, they inform Sung Jun that they will surrender, but the employees kill them at the same moment. They tell Young Jun to surrender as well, because they are left alone. The leader appears wearing a black mask and kills Young Jun in front of him with his gun. Song tells him that these are the results of his mistakes, so Song tells him that Young Bae is with him, and he keeps screaming and crying with pain and anger, and the series ends.